Jessica says 10 seconds. Hello, everyone. We'll just give a few minutes for everyone to join, and then we'll start in a minute. Okay, let's start. Um, Hello again, and welcome, everyone. We are having this webinar today to introduce our latest certification program, DASA Portfolio Management. My name is Pragya Sinha Chaudhary, and I am VP of Products at DASA. I'm delighted to be joined by our CEO, Rick Forenhorst, and our lead author of this program, Dave Van Herpen today. Our intention today is to share with you the nuts and bolts of this program, such as who it will benefit in your organization, how it will help the organization in the transformation journey, how this program is different from other programs that are available in the market. But before we begin, I would request Rick and Dave to introduce themselves. Rick, would you want to start with your introduction?
Yes, thanks, Pragya. Nice to be here. I'm CEO of DASA since May this year. I've been involved with DASA from the start in 2016, so have been quite a journey already. In my whole career, I've been working on how to help organizations to reach a higher level of performance and how to best leverage digital capabilities. So it's great to see that DASA is a big enabler for this cause. So happy to share some thoughts with you today in this webinar.
Dave, would you want to go next?
Sure. So my name is Dave van Herben. I'm an independent change consultant, which means I help organizations to become a better version of themselves. And in the past years, I've been engaged with multiple organizations to support their agile and DevOps journeys. And I have been implementing lean and agile flavors of portfolio management at multiple enterprises also in the past years, which is very helpful in designing the course.
Thank you. Thanks, Rick and Dave. Now, before we move on, some housekeeping items. A recording of this webinar will be made available. We encourage you to share it around in your networks with your friends. Um, Please use the comment section to ask questions during this session. We have scheduled a Q&A section at the end. We will try to answer maximum questions during that time. And finally, if you have any additional or follow-up questions, please send it to the email ID shown on the screen. You can also visit the DASA website for more information. I would now like to invite Rick to talk about DASA vision and our portfolio of products.
Yes, thanks, Pragya. For those of you who don't know yet, DASA has been around for 7 years. It was founded in 2016. I'm very proud to see how it has evolved since. And we have more than 300 organizational partners, mostly training partners, spanning more than 50 countries, certified tens of thousands of professionals in our programs. And we have also a very active and vibrant community. This is really a nice starting point, but much more will come, and we will see in a second what that entails. But this is good to understand because DASA has been building for the last 7 years on becoming this industry body in the Agile and DevOps space. But before we continue on the details, on the next slide, I'd like to emphasize that DevOps is also a maturing discipline. As we all know, the term was coined first in 2008, 2009, and this first school of thought, literally focusing on bridging the gap between IT operations and IT development, emerged. And this is still relevant up until today. But what we did at DASA deliberately in 2016 was basically driving this second school, which is focusing more on the team level and more on the environment in which those cross-functional product teams operate. thereby automatically focusing on much more than the IT stuff, the automation elements, also focusing on product thinking, continuous improvement mindset, customer centricity, and this whole end-to-end philosophy going from projects to products. And we learned in those last 7 years that there's a lot of other elements involved when you really want to grow towards what we often call a high performance IT or high performance digital organization. And that's why also the introduction of today's new certification program is so important, because it's not literally an IT topic. So it's relevant to understand that people, when talking about DevOps, should know that nowadays when we talk about DevOps, it's more about enterprise transformations in a more holistic sense. And things like organizational transformation, leadership, the role of culture are equally important to the automation and team level elements. Taking this into account, on the next slide, I would like to emphasize that what we already see happening when talking with many member organizations, enterprises who benefit from what we have to offer from a DASA perspective in our products and services. 4 key business drivers are listed here. And what you will see is that they're not so much pertain to IT solutions or technology. In the end, every enterprise nowadays would like to become a high-performing organization, finding some sense of resilience, business agility on an enterprise level. Also becoming a forerunner in terms of innovation, creating new products or business models. Putting their customer centric to the equation. Make sure that they're relevant and that they are ahead of the competition. And last but not least, an important business driver for investing in Agile and DevOps principles is also improving the culture, the work context in which your employees can work effectively together. So the employee engagement, productivity, but also retention is greatly enhanced when you create the right set of principles, the operating model, etc. So these are key business drivers that we see happening all over the place. This also reminded us that our key mission, and this is what we stated now more explicitly than some years ago, is that our key mission is to become the industry body, but also the go-to partner for those enterprises who would like to embark on such a transformation. Knowing that a high-performance digital organization means much more than just technology, also a lot about processes, governance, people, and culture elements. Our body of knowledge is aimed to actually help achieve this. We have lots of talent and guidance solutions I'll cover in a second, and our vibrant community helps to keep us up to date. That's basically our key mission as DASA, which is different than it was in 2016, to be honest, where we focused explicitly on certification programs, which are great. So we will, as a result, certify millions of individuals and professionals, and that is great. But the key goal is helping enterprises make sense of and get much value out of those digital transformations. So on the next slide, based on this mission, we see key value pillars we invest in. I listed here 5. Like we did from the start, we will keep investing in best-in-class customized talent solutions. That can be short programs, can be larger certification programs, it can have all kinds of forms. In addition to certification programs and other talent solutions, we also see a need from our members that they need more guidance, because applying the key concepts and principles does take a little bit more effort than being in a classroom, for example. And what we are doing is building lots of guidance products like workshops, assessments, guidance papers, etc., to help individuals, leaders, and professionals to make sense of this all and to apply it effectively. And those guidance and talent solutions are built for and by the community members. We have lots of subject matter experts and leaders worldwide helping us to build those products, validate those products, and put them into practice. And I'm proud to see that our community is growing every day. So this investment in thought leadership and research is also an important angle, because we want to be differentiating and be the first with new trends, new technologies, but also new insights that could help enterprises on their transformation journey. And to that end, we also seek industry collaboration and partnerships where we can. On the next slide, I'll try to summarize what I would typically call an enterprise transformation journey. Of course, every journey, every enterprise is unique, but we also have to have the belief that each transformation journey follows a subsequent number of key phases. And what we want to do as DASA is be as relevant, as impactful throughout that enterprise transformation journey. So our talent and guidance products are aimed to be as relevant and creating as many touch points, so to say, in this enterprise transformation journey in every phase. So that's why when we build our portfolio, and today we will focus on one of the products, of course, when we build our portfolio, we look carefully how it will be relevant to the enterprise and how we can make sure that people and teams can make as much value out of it as possible. In those 5 phases, you see a logical step-by-step improvement. It always starts with having some sense of urgency, feeling the sense of urgency, not just at the top of the organization. It can also be in a team, at a mid-level manager. Being a forerunner, being a change agent can do the trick already. But before you embark on a transformation journey, you need to create a vision. What is the end game? What is the end in mind you have? What do you want to change and how? And that will lead to shaping the transformation. You should not just dive in and build tools, adopt frameworks, invest in all kinds of talent and knowledge and skills elements. You need to find out a working coalition. You need to think of your communication strategy. You need to basically define measures of success and to measure progress. So this is happening all in the shaping the transformation phase. And then when that is done, ideally, you can definitely embark on the transforming the enterprise phase itself. And that contains many sub-steps, of course, and it's a continuous journey. And that's why we also highlight here in the 5th step that there is a continuous nature to transformations. Although you can manage it as a program, you do need to pivot, reflect, and continuously improve along the way. So based on this slide, we created a number of key principles that we build our portfolio on. Those 4 are worth mentioning. Like I said, we live by the community. So people like you in this session today. I'm very proud to work with so many subject matter experts worldwide who can help us to build the best-in-class products. But they also help us validate those programs and make sure that it's not just a theoretical exercise, but it works in practice. That this also ties into the 2nd principle. They need to be not just high quality, best in class, but also easy to apply our products and services. The 3rd one pertains to the fact that we want to be as inclusive and comprehensive as possible, not just focusing on specific parts, only people-related stuff or technology or automation-related topics. Every phase of the transformation journey should be covered, and that's why we have a comprehensive high-impact portfolio. And last but not least, every program we release is, like I said, best in class, but of course, it is never finished. It's never perfect. We adopt a continuous improvement mindset based on feedback from instructors, from participants. We'll continuously update our products, and you will also benefit from that. We go to the next slide. I'll have for you an overview, a quick overview, and then I'll give the floor back to Pragya and Dave on how our portfolio looks like. This is a slide that focuses on our talent portfolio. Since the start of DASA, we've worked on a number of models and frameworks. At the bottom left, you see our team competence model that sketches key knowledge and skill areas that we deem important for cross-functional end-to-end product teams to have sufficient experience in. So those knowledge and skills need to be built, those competencies. And it helps to base our programs on this model, simply to understand and explain to people like you how a specific program can help you gain certain skills. In addition, we built a competency framework based on key roles in the organization, a typical enterprise, ranging from a platform engineer, transformational leader, or a coach. We have identified key competencies and sub-competencies that you need to develop yourself on. This is also a model used as input for our the design of our portfolio and curriculum. And as you will see in the center here, we have lots of certification programs. Today we'll introduce a new one to you, but also we have short digital courses and role-based learning journeys on our Talent Academy platform. On the next slide, you see our vision around guidance products. This is in the making, based on requests from members. Like I said, the help required to put the concepts easier into practice, we anticipate building various guidance assets bundled in what we call a value box, mapped on each phase of the transformation, as I quickly summarized earlier, focusing on key themes, key capabilities that an enterprise need to develop. Based on the icons, you can see that there's typically a grouping. A value box can consist, for example, of a workshop, description and template, guidance papers, assessments, playbooks, tutorials, but also videos and all kinds of other elements to make it as comprehensive as possible. All meant to make sure that a discipline, a capability is put into practice effectively. And based on input from the community and our members, we anticipate a number of these value boxes. I will not go into detail right now. And we make sure it is as comprehensive as possible. So we have value boxes focusing on a people and culture dimension, processes and governance dimension, and architecture and technology dimension. And as you can see for the careful observer here, the portfolio management program that we will introduce today, around that topic, we'll also have a value box coming in the next year. That was it. Pragya, back to you.
Pragya, you're on mute.
I'm so sorry about that. I was just saying thanks to Rick. Thank you for introducing the DASA's vision and the portfolio vision so beautifully. Rick, I have one question for you. So, why did we decide to build a program on portfolio management?
Yeah, that's a good question. The main reason is that we see many organizations struggle with this topic. Like I said, based on the schools of thought you typically see in DevOps, many organizations nowadays have invested in some sort of agile or DevOps transformation. Typically, that involves adopting a framework, a set of principles, training coaches, making sure autonomy is brought lower in the organization, cross-functional teams. Those elements are typically covered, but truly embracing agile and DevOps principles is hard. And what we see is that to really make those end-to-end product teams effective, you need to also rethink your target operating model. If you still in a traditional way do your portfolio management and basically base your investment decisions on a more top-down approach or just a business-driven approach, and you see IT and the IT department where often the first agile and DevOps teams reside as a delivery engine, then you will miss out on several of the key benefits of doing this jointly. So this topic, when I am in discussion with many of, for example, C-suite leaders, this is something that over the past decades, many of them have got headache about. And there are fortunately quite a good number of principles and solutions, but there's a need in the market to get guidance and get clarity on how to do this. And that's why I'm so proud to have a 2-day program on this topic, because there's lots to learn and lots to apply. And it's basically something that is in high demand, which is also evident based on the amount of people joining this introduction webinar, I guess.
Yeah, that's definitely there. Thank you so much for explaining that. Um, Now I would want to turn our attention to Dave. For the last few months, Dave has been working tirelessly with our DASA's development team and many other experts to shape this program in accordance to DASA's mandate and mission. So I wanted to start off by asking, how is the DASA portfolio management program different from other portfolio management programs available in the market, Dave?
Yeah, that's a question I've been getting a lot when designing this program, of course, because there are quite some methodologies already available in the market regarding this. The thing is, they all have their different background and and they all have their different areas and context where they're focusing on. So one or multiple methodologies focus more on the project part and the change part. A lot focus on the lean and agile application of portfolio management, and a lot focus, for instance, on more the product or service part of it, What we are doing is we are actually combining all of those. And because in an enterprise, all of those portfolios are also combined. And so you have a product or service portfolio, you have a change portfolio, and in a lot of cases, you have a lot of teams who are working in a lean and agile way. You have scaled it up as well, but there's also, in a lot of cases, it's more like a hybrid situation where you also have teams or projects which are not already working in the lean and agile way, and you have to combine all of those. So how do you do this, and how can you create a methodology inclusive approach to this for the modern enterprise? So we actually have combined all of those. And second, where it's a bit different as well, I think it's great that we're using all of the SMEs that we have in our community to actually learn from them and to apply all of the practices. Consultants like me who've been experiencing the implementation of portfolio management in multiple organizations. We're actually doing that, and we are also doing it ourselves, as Rick explained in the past period. Also at DASA, we have been implementing portfolio management as well, so we're eating our own dog food, and we're also applying all of those practices in this training as well, and vice versa. And when we're absolutely taking the enterprise-wide scope, as I just said, so not only looking at change, but also looking at, for instance, the current product and service portfolio, which is already in the catalog or in production. So what is the relation between that and the change portfolio? And we observe strategic agility. We observe the need for strategic agility, what Rick also said. But we're applying very specific and very practical instruments in doing so. So if you look at the program, how it's set up, it's very practical. So we have, of course, we have, the methodology behind it, but you also have a lot of practical stories, practical instruments, and a lot of very handful practices that you can use in daily practice when doing portfolio management and dealing with it. And last but not least, we have included quite an extensive case study, which goes throughout the program, which really helps you to put it into practice and to see what it actually looks like in real life. So it's really an experiential learning experience.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that. And I also heard you say that this program takes an inclusive approach. So why do you could you explain why is it important to have this kind of an inclusive approach?
Yeah, if you look at all of the possible methodologies, as you can see on this slide as well, there's quite some out there. So you have MOP, you have PMI, you have the ITIL way of looking at services. You have the agile or lean approaches from SAFe, LPM, for instance. So there's quite a lot of different ways to look at portfolio management and how it actually, in the end, cascades into the value streams and teams in your organization. If you have any value streams, or if you have any projects or programs, etc. And the thing is, if you look at it from a methodology perspective itself, as I just said, a lot of the enterprises that we're seeing in real life, they have hybrid ways of working. They have hybrid teams. They have a lot of different ways of working in the enterprise at any given point in time. So having an inclusive or agnostic approach to methodology is quite important. And combining that with practical instruments, make sure that we're not necessarily choosing on one of those methodologies, but we're using best of breed. Which also makes sure that you don't get any religious wars in your organization. So we're from the SAFe camp, we're from the MOP camp, we're from the PMI camp. That doesn't really matter. It's the enterprise that has to deal with portfolio management. You're using very distinct practical instruments for this. Right? So we also show in which context you can best apply which instruments. And we also learn how to do this. We experiment with those. And that's how you actually combine the practical part with the inclusiveness of all of the methodologies that we can use.
Maybe to add on that, Dave, for a second, I think it's very important what you now sketch. It's also something that we embraced at DASA from the start. All our programs have the same key principles in mind. For example, our DevOps Fundamentals program, which a new version is coming out this week, also focuses on an inclusive and practical approach. Of course, that means that if you go literally to all the methods and frameworks that we cover and you would like to understand and apply everything, that can never be done in a 2-day program. But we really would like to be, in that sense, inclusive and show the audience, show the participants what's around, and do not want to be like some of the more dogmatic and prescriptive parties saying this is the way to do it, because we don't believe in that. And enterprises are very situationally focusing on their transformation journeys. And we believe that this approach helps the participants to decide for themselves what to do with it, what to apply in what kind of specific situations. So it's worth mentioning. Thanks.
Exactly. As Frank Zappa said, one size doesn't fit all, and that's exactly what's the case here.
Yeah, you're right. That it has to be inclusive, and we are trying to make all our programs inclusive, and it also makes our programs very versatile. But also, then again, the question also arises is, uh, then who all should attend this program? The versatility of it. Who all are we attempting to bring to a certain level? Who's the audience for this program?
Yeah, actually, we have two types of two ways of looking at the audience. So we either have the primary audience and we have the secondary audience, as you can see on the slide. And the primary audience are usually the people and the roles in your organization that are dealing with portfolio management on a daily basis. So of course, dealing with portfolio management are the portfolio managers or portfolio management officers in the first place. So if it's already a function, an organizational function in your enterprise, those are of course the people that will be dealing with this on a daily basis. Who are facilitating the portfolio management process in any which way. And they can learn from new modern practices to actually grow from there. But also, both the strategic leadership itself, who are actually, in the middle of decision making and who have to actually decide on what goes first on your portfolio and where are our strategic priorities and how do we align those with our business objectives. That's very fundamental to strategic leadership as well. And we have a group of product managers, value stream managers, epic owners, program managers, etc., who are actually very much directly tied into the portfolio management processes because they are dealing directly with the consequences of all of the priorities that have been made in the portfolio process itself. And they also have to provide input continuously to actually make the right decisions there. And in addition, you also have the transformation leaders, so the organizational coaches, etc., who are in the process of actually implementing this way of working and making sure that you achieve enterprise agility as a whole. And next to that, we also have a secondary audience, whereas maybe the enterprise architect is one of the roles that I'd like to pick out. In some cases, this might be, and actually it should be, the primary audience as well, because the more you're able to involve the enterprise architect in shaping your process and really making the decisions in your portfolio as well, the more you are able to involve the enterprise architecture function in your organization, the more successful you will be. So we both see the primary and the secondary audience here. And if we then move on to the next slide, that shows also what the key learning objectives are of these people and of these key roles. So when designing this program, we have looked at particularly how can you get from your key business objectives towards your portfolio strategy, and how can you then organize your portfolio in an effective way in a modern context. And if you have organized it, how can you achieve flow in the end? So what are the typical practices that you can use to achieve portfolio flow end to end? If you have gotten to a certain flow, you want to make sure that all of the decisions that you make, that they're done in the right way and that they're as data-driven and value-driven as possible, and that it's governed in the right way as well. And last but not least, that once you have made the strategic decisions, everyone should be involved. Everybody should be informed about the decision that you have made. everybody should be continually involved in not only in designing the process and all of the interfaces with the other processes, but also in the content of the process itself. So what kind of decisions have you made? What kind of priorities have you actually put on your portfolio backlog? And what does this mean for the rest of the organization?
So, inclusivity seems to be really the design philosophy behind this program, whether it is your framework approaches, whether it is the audience who will all interact with the portfolio, in how they can take it forward in the transformation journey. What other design principles or what were your other design considerations when you were working with the team to come up with with this approach of the training program?
Yeah.
What were your other design considerations then?
Yeah, well, actually, this pyramid shows quite a handy cascade for that, because of course, when designing a program like this, the first thing that comes to mind is that whatever you're doing, it has to be in line with all of the business objectives that you have. So that's where you start. So you start with a business vision, business objectives, and how can you actually formulate and visualize that in the right way. And from there on, you move towards how can you organize your portfolio in the right way, how can you then optimize your end-to-end process, and how can you establish the right governance practices around this. So that is, a real um, cascade of logical decisions starting from the business, and then how do you organize it, and then the typical practices that you need in order to realize this. And in addition, what you also see here on this slide is, the community engagement feedback loop, which ensures that when designing this program, um, we keep in mind that it also needs to be able to support a transformation in your organization as well that's already in progress, or that you're on the verge of making or starting. Um, so people need to recognize that when you do a transformation, and portfolio management in a lot of organizations is a crucial aspect in that, you need to make sure that it also is in line with, how do you transform an organization. You also start with your business objectives, and then you move towards how do you organize, and then it moves towards how do you actually create flow end to end. So it's in the same line of actually doing a transformation. And as Rick also said in the past, um, our own learning is also important here. So it's also about making sure that we keep, the community involved when we do these trainings, when we actually also learn from all of the enterprises that are our members, and that are, in those transformations themselves, that we keep learning from them as well to enrich and continuously adapt and improve our own program as well.
Yeah, that's true. And one of our pillars is to leverage the power of community, and that we will continue to do even after the program has been launched, and we keep gathering feedback from people.
Yeah,
But Dave, can you also help us understand when you were designing this program, while you were designing this program, how did you leverage this power of community?
well, there's a number of ways that we did that. So we actually engaged the community by asking them in a number of ways for inputs. So we have contacted a number of SMEs during this whole design process. We also did a number of sessions with all of those SMEs to collect feedback on intermediate product increments. So not only, asking them for input, what do you see in your daily practice, and what happens in your current enterprise context? What do you see as a trainer or a coach or a consultant or a practitioner? And we actually wanted to learn from that as well. But also, when we have, intermediate product increments, we also want to show and validate, are we on the right track or not. And when we start rolling out the trainings, of course we will do exactly the same in continuously improving it. And that has resulted also, if you look at the next slide, that has also resulted, in the program that we have set up, um, which actually has incorporated all of that knowledge and all of that experience, not only from ourselves when designing the program, but and also looking at it from how do you actually get a good learning experience out of this, but how do we get all of the content that we want to bring to the learners? How do you get that in the right structure? And this is the way that's actually in line with the learning structure that I just showed, which makes sure that you really have a cascade of first starting with the business objectives and then moving on towards how do you organize it, and then going towards how do you actually implement it in the right way.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of work has been gone into designing this and developing this from what I hear from you.
Yeah.
But I would now like to ask Rick. Rick, do you think a 2-day program is sufficient enough to build in that kind of a portfolio management skills that can help transformations?
I think it's a great step in the right direction. As Dave explained, the inclusive nature of the program, covering so many of the key practices and principles that are there, rooted in experience by the community members and the experts, but also the exercises throughout the program help to really apply and get a lot of anchor points for you as a participant to apply that in your own context. So I think this 2-day program, it's of course elaborate, but it's needed because it's such an important topic, and it's not something you can do overnight. It takes effort, and there's no quick fix in that regard. So I really believe this is a great step in the right direction. At the same time, as we also hear from our enterprise members, we anticipate that additional guidance is needed. That's why we also focus on, a guidance portfolio on additional insights, articles, workshops, assessments to basically arrive at a myriad of solutions that we provide to our member organizations in addition to this certification program. But it would be a logical first step to deep dive in the world of portfolio management by applying for this program. Yes. And then based on our continuous improvement principle, we will definitely invest in organizing events and knowledge sharing sessions based on all the experiences that you all will have with this discipline, and compare notes, share successes, but also learn from failures. So we together advance the state of the practice.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Rick and Dave. Thank you so much for that informative discussion. I would now like to shift the gear a little bit more and give you a little more information on the program. So, going to the next slide. So you see that there are two ways of delivering this program or consuming this program. There is a facilitated method and there is a self-paced method. Uh, through the facilitated program can be delivered either through a virtual classroom or through a physical classroom. And we'll be soon coming out with the self-paced program as well for this one. The facilitated program is for 2 days, as you have heard us. The self-paced program at the moment we are expecting would be somewhere around 10 hours. This is a certification program. And as we have been talking all through that, our DASA approach to the programs is that they should be able, it should have more of practical implications. We should be able to apply it. So this program specifically has been built at Bloom's level 3, which is at an application level. So the assessments that we have built will also be testing the knowledge, or will also be testing people on their, are they able to apply it, the knowledge that they have gathered. So the assessment will also be at the application level. There will be 20 questions to be answered in 40 minutes. And the certification criteria is that the trainers would have to score a 75%, the learners would have to score a 65% to be certified. Moving on. Um, and so what do you get from this program? The participants will get a course book, a presentation, the presentation deck as PDF, additional reading materials, mock exams, and the certification exams. And the instructors would get instructor guides, the presentation deck, the additional reading materials, mock exams, and the certification exams. How can you access this program? these materials will be. So that we have on the next slide. So all these material will be available on DASA Talent Academy portal. You can access the course material from there. The participants can access all the course material, the deck, the mock exam. The mock exam would be there. You can also schedule your certification exams from the Talent Academy, and they then take the exam as per the schedule. The instructors will also be able to deliver the program using the Talent Academy portal. Okay, now what next? So we have developed the program now. We are in the phase of developing. It will be completed, and we have trained the trainer scheduled for 4th and 5th of October. We are hoping to see all of you in attending the train the trainer session. That will also be one of the, not just to know the details of the program, to learn about the program, but also to share your feedback. That would be a first. That will also be your opportunity to give us some feedback there. And that we are going to take very seriously. Whatever feedback we get from Train the Trainer, we apply it, and then we launch the program on 20th of October. So the launch that we do of the program on 20th of October is the English version, and then it will be followed by multiple language variants of it. And today, throughout our discussion, you have heard Rick, Dave, me saying continuous improvement. And that is one of our principles. So, yes, we will be looking at this program to continuously improve it. Whether it is, we did it during the community review, we worked with many other experts within the industry, we had sessions with them, we got their feedback to improve it. We are looking for your feedback during the TTT sessions, and after the launch, we also have set up mechanisms to gather learner feedback and your feedback, and we will be quarterly looking at all these feedbacks to see what more improvements are required. Make those improvements wherever it is required, and then again keep updating the program continuously. Okay, so that's all from us for today. We have now some time to answer your questions. If you have any questions, please put it in the comments and we will try and answer maximum of those. I see there is a question that will the session be available to watch later? Yes, there is a recording available. There will be a recording available that you can watch and share. Oh, people have already answered that question as well. Okay. Uh, Um, okay. How can we participate in the TTT program, Sunil? So there will be messages going out. There will be webinar set up. We will reach out, and there will be LinkedIn posts made where you can go and register for this TTT program. Uh, okay. Um, else that we have. Which says, really looking forward. We too, Mitch. We have put in a lot of effort here.
Maybe one topic is worth addressing, Pragya and Dave. I can imagine that some people in this call wonder whether this program is already suitable for them in this stage of the transformation, in this looking at the current maturity they are in as an organization in their transformation, or maybe not even calling it a transformation. So maybe Dave, you could start by sharing your thoughts for how far do you need to be in that journey for making this program a relevant investment?
Yeah, there's actually quite a few schools of thought for that. So what I see in practice is that When I enter an organization that wants to engage in any serious transformation towards a new, improved, high performance way of working, um, th- th- there's a lot to say that you start at the team level by just doing experiments and trying out all of the new stuff and seeing how DevOps would work for you and learn from there and move from there. There's really a lot of value in that. On the other hand, if that means that senior management and strategic leadership and the engagement that you need in order to actually move towards the right direction, to be able to also adjust your governance structures, to also do some example behavior from the top, that's exactly where DASA portfolio management program would actually really be helpful, also at the start of such a transformation to show example behavior. So if you're able as a strategic leadership to already show this is how we want to do stuff, and we're showing it ourselves, and we show how we can be transparent, how we can actually be adaptive in our decision making processes, how we can make whatever we do with our portfolio, we'll make it data driven and value driven. And that's what we really find important. It's a crucial signal towards the rest of the organization that we move in that direction. So using the ingredients and the instruments that we have on the portfolio management program, I think it really helps to actually give a boost to the whole adoption of this new way of working in your organization. So you don't need to be 6 years ahead and already have done a lot of agile transformations. Of course, it helps if the teams that you're working with, they already have engaged in experiments, and they already have started to adopt agile, lean, DevOps type of practices. If they haven't, it's a great opportunity to show how it's done. So it actually goes both ways.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've seen too many organizations struggle, especially with the role of product owner. In many of those teams, when you start with agile DevOps teams, the role of the product owner is often squeezed in between, let's say, the new way of working that you want to instill at the team level and the more traditional top-down portfolio management processes in the company that will give that product owner lots of inputs and sometimes conflicting signals. And I've seen many product owners being in a real struggle with that. So I agree with you, Dave, that rather sooner than later, this investing in this portfolio management capability, envisioning a way how to best apply that in your situational context is very important. It's a nice way to put it. Yeah.
So, Dave, I see there's another question here on audience itself. It says, who do you expect typically to join the training, like project managers or leadership? Yeah, that's the question. And it would be better to combine different types of participants to have separate trainings for these groups.
Yeah. So in one of the slides that we showed, we talked about the primary and secondary audience. So it would be good to have a look at that. In addition, the most important part of the organization that has to deal with this, is the part where of course the portfolio has the highest influence, which is at portfolio management or portfolio managers or the portfolio management office. That goes without saying. But a lot of the typical roles that are just around this, which could indeed be project managers, but also could be program managers, which could be also people on the value stream level of the organization, but also strategic leadership themselves. You really want to engage them as well. So from one of the trainings I had in the past, I think it's been 5 or 10 years ago, I think it was Craig Larman who once said, if you want to know if it's really portfolio management that's being done, check if the CEO is in the room. I think that's a really important way of looking at portfolio management and making sure that it's always a strategic effort, and it needs to be it needs to have the engagement of strategic leadership as well. So strategic leaders or transformation leaders are also very much an important target audience for this training, because then they know what kind of tools they can use in practice to actually practice and to know their role in portfolio management as well.
Thanks. Um, there's one more question which says, what are the programs, products, intervention is DASA building, providing for this theme to help enterprises build capabilities? Um, Rick, would you want to take that?
Yeah, we're in the process of shaping the curriculum based on this theme of portfolio management, right? Based on the concept of a value box. We're looking continuously what other types of assets interventions would work best. Looking at the way we build this certification program, there are a lot of nice exercises and concepts that we could also leverage in another way. For example, have specific workshops on that. Maybe some quick scan on assessment to get better clarity on how mature your existing organization is in that matter. But definitely also some form of guidance paper where we also explain a typical templated playbook roadmap that you could follow, not to be dogmatic again or prescriptive, but I feel many organizations would like to start somewhere. It gives them some guidance, literally, some structure to start off with. So it also ties into the previous question in that sense. So depending on uh, how much awareness there already is and how much buy-in from senior leadership, it would definitely be beneficial to include various layers in the organization implementing this. But sometimes some more pioneering is needed first to build examples, to test, do some experiments, and then grow from within. Sometimes even bottom up. So it really depends on the organizational maturity, what format works best. But we intend to come up with various assets, basically, that pertain to different types of situations.
And
Yeah.
Pragya, maybe if you allow me to also look at because Eric asked a question about the target audience, but also did a sub question on would it be best to have separate trainings for those groups or to have one training for all of those target audiences. I think that's a good sub question as well. To dive into that, in my view, it would always be a very good idea, especially if you do in-house training, but also if you have not in-house, but an open training or whatsoever. It would always be a good idea to have multiple perspectives on the portfolio process and multiple roles in your team when doing training as well. Because of course, if you do a role-based training focusing on the portfolio manager's role, you can talk about the specifics for the role of the portfolio manager, but especially the portfolio management process is not only about the portfolio manager or the portfolio management role itself. It's also about the leadership making the decisions. It's also about all of the people in the teams or in the programs or in whatever is receiving those priorities and strategic decisions and needs to execute them as well. They also need to be aware of the implications of the process for their own role. So the more people you have in your audience that actually have a different perspective on the portfolio process itself, the more value your training will be as well. So I would also applaud to have multiple roles in your training because they, especially also when you dive into the case study, for instance, you can have all of those perspectives in looking at the same situation and context. But that would be my opinion.
No, I completely agree with you on that, Dave. Especially when we talk about the business simulation we have built into the program, where if you bring in people from all kinds of perspective to work on it, there would be so much peer learning there, amongst those groups because they're coming from different perspective, different roles, and their experiences. So there's not just that they're learning from the program, from the person who's delivering the training, but also from each other. So yes, that peer learning factor will become very strong then.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to write to us at learning at devopsagileskills.org, and we will definitely get back to you with all our answers. And thank you so much for joining us today. This was a great session, and we all are hoping to see you in our train the trainer session and get your feedback there as well. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Enjoy your day.
Thank you.